How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Christopher Samson. I also go by Pacific Northwest Samson, or at least that's my channel's name. I do a bunch of diving all around British Columbia, the Pacific Northwest in general for that matter, and I film my adventures and I post them on YouTube. And from time to time, companies approach me and ask if I want to do a product review. I've done a bunch of reviews in the past for various torches, including Wurkkos and X-Star. I used to be a part of a company that sold dive torches as well, and I know a thing or two about them. I have a lot of experience. In the Pacific Northwest, we deal with really tough conditions. There's often algae blooms, the water is dark. It's dark even at the best of times. Even if we get below the algae blocks out the sunlight. So a good torch is essential to making our diving possible, or even somewhat enjoyable. Not somewhat enjoyable, it's phenomenal, let's be real. But bottom line, I know a thing or two about torches. I'm reviewing the Wurkkos DL03 torch today. They gave me the light for the review. They're not paying me for this. And by the time I put in all the hours of diving, editing, and standing here on the shoreline right now, I'm probably making maybe $2 an hour. That's if I sold this torch used and recoup maybe 60 bucks. So I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm doing this to educate my viewers and educate anyone that chooses to click on my videos. So with that said, if you do enjoy the video, do me a favor, throw it a thumbs up. It does help my channel out. And if you don't like the video and you throw it a thumbs down, then explain why. Otherwise, I take that as the jealousy button. So go ahead, smash that jealousy button if you will. Otherwise, yeah, just explain yourself. I appreciate it. And without further ado, here's the torch, the Wurkkos DL03 as promised. This one has a maximum lumen of 2800, which is pretty damn bright. And it also has a laser on it, almost like that X-Star that I reviewed recently. It has a laser, so you can point at fish when you're in the water if you're a dive instructor. You can also use the laser to attract fish and have them follow around the laser like a cat would. I haven't tried that personally, but I know some people online reading the reviews have had success and they have a blast with it. One thing I do want to note is this box. This thing's a massive hunk of plastic. I wish Wurkkos would maybe minimize their packaging. I don't find these boxes useful. I just throw a torch in my dive bag, so I would never carry this around with me in the first place. So a little bit of excess waste, not a huge deal for some, but for me, I'm always considering that when I'm buying packages. Now the torch comes with all the essentials. Obviously the light, first and foremost, we'll get there. Comes with a wrist lanyard. I would always attach that wrist lanyard onto the torch, otherwise you're gonna lose it, even if it's in the hand strap. You get some extra O-rings, which are pretty essential. Down here we get the operational instructions. And last but not least, a USB-C style charger. No charging block, but you do have yourself an extra cable, which I'm sure we all have 1,000 of by now. The battery is a Wurkkos 21,700 5,000 milliamps, so a lot of power, a lot of juice for such a small little compact light. So this will do you for hours in the water, I'm sure. I'll get to those specifications shortly. The battery compartment is protected with 2 O-rings. I know the Wurkkos torches have 3, but I think 2 honestly is more than enough. As long as you maintain them, replace them when necessary, and ensure you're not getting any sand, dirt, or grime. Even an eyelash in there could cause problems. But I'm trusting 2 O-rings without a doubt. Now this is kind of neat. There's some pros and cons here, but to charge your battery, there's a second spot to unthread. And we look over here, there's a USB-C style charging port, so you have your charger and your flashlight all in one unit. This here is also protected with 2 O-rings. The one downside though is if you are charging the light, you're gonna have to be really careful not to get any dirt or grime in there, so you need a nice clean charging area. If I were you, I would go online and I would invest in the USB-C direct batteries. I'm not sure if Wurkkos sells them, but some batteries will have the port so you can plug USB-C right in, and then you don't really have to worry about compromising your O-rings while you're charging. That'd be my recommendation. Either way, I'm not complaining in the slightest. I think this is pretty innovative, pretty nice that you don't have to forget a charger, which I'm sure people have done, including some of you watching this video right now. Nothing worse than going on a dive trip and realizing you don't have your charger, and then you're using your battery sparingly the whole entire time. So this definitely does rectify that issue. Now, I really like the simplicity of the on-off switch. Right now, if I want to put it on the laser light, I have that option. It's hard to see with the lighting here, but we got ourselves a laser. Turn it off. If I want to turn the dive torch on with the laser, again, one simple button, turn it off. If I want to have just the dive torch, I have that option as well. And then to change the brightness, you just have to hold down the button. And this one, again, the reader rate goes all the way up to 2800 lumens, which is extremely bright. The trade-off, though, is your battery is going to take a hit. Also, one more thing to note, you don't have to turn it off to switch settings. I can just cycle back and forth. Freediving is a bit different than scuba diving. I think most scuba divers, when they're at depth, they leave their light on the whole entire time. When I'm freediving, I dive down, turn my torch on, and then as I'm ascending, I often turn the light off or turn the light off when I'm at the surface. And I do that to conserve battery because our dives might extend out 3-4 hours if the conditions are nice, and I want my light to be on the whole entire time. I do like this torch in a way that you don't have to, cycle through high, medium, low to turn the light off. I can leave it on the high setting and turn it off. And then if I turn it immediately back on, I'm getting myself back into that high lumen, that 2800. Sometimes when I'm at the surface, I click the button a few times thinking the light is off when in fact it just went to the low setting, and then I'm burning through battery unknowingly. So for freediving, that's an awesome feature. It's the little things in life that make a difference. This torch, I should also note, feels really robust. It feels like the same quality as Wurkkos and X-Star. I've said this in my other reviews if you've seen them. I'm pretty convinced that they're all made in the exact same warehouse. I know the lights I was manufacturing there for a while, they are made in the same warehouse as Wurkkos torch. It was Wurkkos torch that made me kind of step away from the business because they're coming out with amazing products at a fraction of what we were charging. So I didn't want to charge my friends more money for a product that was inferior. It just wasn't right. Now, the same thing can be said for Wurkkos. This is the same quality you're getting as Wurkkos, but this light comes in at a fraction of the price. It's crazy the technology that's coming out there, and the value is phenomenal. This thing here is, I believe, 120 bucks without any discounts, but they're constantly having sales from what I've seen online. So I'm really, really impressed with this light, if you haven't noticed already. Now, it's always important to refer to the manufacturing operating instructions, but the battery runtime is going to depend on how bright your torch is. If you have it on the low setting, which is 100 lumens, not very bright, you're looking at 25 hours. Medium, however, you're kicking it up to 500 lumens and your runtime is going to be 6.25 hours. High setting, which is 1200 lumens, you're looking at 2 hours and 16 minutes. And the turbo, which is the 2800 lumens, you're looking at a runtime of 1 hour and 33 minutes. The battery runtimes were likely tested in a warmer climate, not here in the Pacific Northwest with frigid water. So don't expect the battery life to be exact, and that goes for any torch that you purchase. But I'm pretty confident that the runtime is going to be very close to what's advertised in the manual. If you look here, it does have a battery life indicator. Green, solid green, is going to be indicating 75 to 100% charge. Once it's flashing green, which you can see it is doing right now, you're looking at 50 to 75%. If it's red, you're now down to 25 to 50% charge. And if it's flashing red, you got under 25%. So that is nice if you're doing any cave or night diving. Does give you a general ballpark of how much juice you have left. Now, the torch does have a warranty. It doesn't give too much information here. It just says, please contact us for a refund or replacement if your flashlight has a problem within the warranty period. I'm sure you can find out their limited warranty on their website though, so give that one a Google. One thing that's cool about the torch is it has a impact resistance rating of 1 meter, so let's see how it works. I'm just joking. I'm not going to put that one to the test. I trust it though, but I don't want to break it. This has a depth rating of up to 100 meters. I'm not diving much past 15 meters, maybe 20 at tops when I'm spearfishing and freediving. So this one's got my back too for depth. Now, if you're a record holder freediver and you're going down 100 meters, yeah, you might run into some issues, but I don't think you're using a torch down there anyways. One thing I could not find in the manual is if this light is amphibious. Now, most people don't buy a dive torch to use it above water, let's be real. Most dive torches, for that matter, rely on the water to cool the torch off. Now, I will say having an amphibious light is a nice feature. If you leave one in your dash in your vehicle as a backup dive light, it could also be used if you're broken down on the side of the road during an emergency. This light has a pretty narrow beam, so this is not going to be my go-to for diving. It will be a backup, and I will likely still have it in my vehicle. That or one of the X-Star ones that I've reviewed in the past. I will say I do prefer the feel of this light over the X-Star though. I like the size, it's a bit more compact, and I do like the switch mechanism. It feels more reliable than the plastic one on the X-Star. I don't want to talk about different dive torches during the review, but if you do want to see the other reviews that I've done, they're on my channel. I have a equipment review playlist, so scope that out when you're done this one. One thing I have not been able to figure out, even after reading through the manual in detail, is a way to lock the light out. So if this isn't a dive bag, from what I can tell, if anything hits a button, it's going to turn on. So if I were you and you do throw it in a bag, I would recommend having the laser setting on. You don't want this turning on in a dive bag and overheating. It does have overheating protection, but I would not rely on that. Another option, you could also disconnect the battery, take the battery out. That way, you know, it's not going to turn on in your dive bag by mistake. I did a Google search to see if Wurkkos lights do have a lockout. Some models do have a manual one, some have an automatic one. So if there's inactivity for a certain period of time, the light will automatically disengage. But I found every time I hit the button, even if it was sitting in my bag for a while, it would still turn on with ease, just one click. So if there is a lockout, maybe I'm wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. Now time for the in-water test. I brought the torch to a local spot in Nanaimo, British Columbia, local to where I live, and I brought it into the water for a shore dive. The conditions were pretty decent. They were better at depth than the surface, but for the Pacific Northwest in the springtime, couldn't really ask for anything better. I did mess up though. I handed my camera to a friend who was going to film me while I was in the water, trying out the laser light. When I handed her the camera, she thought it was on though, when I never actually hit the record button. So I didn't get any footage of the laser light in action, but I'm sure you get the idea. It's a laser pointer that you can use underwater. I think that's more of a scuba diving feature than free diving feature anyways. I wouldn't be able to hold my breath, go down, look for a fish, and then try to get that fish to actually follow the light in the minute and a half that I have to see stuff while I'm submerged. So scuba diving, I think that'd be a great feature. If you're a dive instructor, it would be a phenomenal feature. Or even a diving guide, because you can point out various life and stuff on the walls without actually physically touching anything. And as a diving instructor, that's what you should be doing, and that's what you should be encouraging, not touching wildlife. Now the angle of the beam is advertised as 26 degrees, I think a flood of 80, something along those lines. I did find the beam way too narrow for what I'm used to. I am a bit of an anomaly. I use my torches for spearfishing, looking deep inside of cracks, and this would be perfect for that. I also use torches from time to time to look for objects, doing retrievals, looking for gear and stuff like that in the ocean. But for the most part, I'm using a dive torch to get really, really good footage so I can light up a wall. And with the very narrow beam, it's not really possible to do so. So it's not that versatile of a torch. But I'm not going to grab a spotlight to do videos. I'm not going to grab a video light for looking for stuff like a spotlight. So I can't really expect a spotlight to do the job of a video light. So that's no knock against the camera. It's just not what that light is intended for, and it's not what my primary purpose would be. But still, for a torch, it was an awesome light. I could look really deep inside of cracks. Really far down, and if I was spearfishing, I wouldn't have any issues using this light at all. One advantage of having a narrow beam is you're going to cut through the water a lot easier than you would with a wide beam. In the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of backscatter, a lot of algae in the column, and if you're shooting a floodlight, you basically lose your illumination due to all that backscatter, as where a nice tight beam can cut through all that stuff. So depending on the conditions, this actually might be one of the lights that I would be looking for, or if I did have my gun with me, I'd be spearfishing with it. The light while diving around, even in the water, was simple and easy to use. The button was very responsive. With the 5mm gloves, Kevlar gloves that I had on, I didn't have any issues switching anything around. I did try to use the light as a video light a few times. I illuminated a egg yolk jellyfish and it looked pretty good. I was trying with the 2800 lumen, the high beam, and I just found it way too bright to get any decent footage. So I did lower the illumination to, I believe it was medium. And I still got some decent shots despite having that narrow beam. Since I free dive and I have to conserve all my energy and utilize my muscles as efficiently as possible so I'm not burning through my oxygen reserves, I will not dive without a wrist strap. I got an aftermarket one. It fit through it nicely. If you are using wrist strap, make sure that you still use the wrist lanyard. You don't want your light falling out of the wrist strap and then going down to the depths. My final thoughts after trying the light in the ocean and playing around with it on the shore here and reading through the instruction manual, I think it's amazing value. I don't think you can beat value when it comes to Wurkkos torches. The DL03 is a bit too narrow of a beam for my preference, but if that's what you're looking for, a narrow beam for spearfishing, or you need a spotlight, a torch, I think it's excellent, and I would have zero problems recommending the light. I would suggest getting the USB-C direct battery. That way you're not going to compromise the O-rings when you're charging your light. But it's awesome to have the chargeable USB-C right on the light in case you do forget your charger, which I noted already does happen. Wurkkos also sent me this one a few months back. Sorry guys, I was supposed to review this one months ago. I don't think the current contact I'm dealing with realizes that I was sent this late, but I'm going to get to this eventually. This is the DL08, and I think this one offers kind of a happy medium. Has a spotlight of 2000 lumens and a floodlight of 3600 lumens. You also have the red light and the black light. I'm going to try that one next time in the water, and with the black light, I'm heading to Bermuda on July 6th for 2 weeks, and I'm going to try to light up some of the corals and see how that looks too. UV diving is something I have not done yet, but it looks awesome. I can't wait to try it out. Here's a quick peek at the Wurkkos DL08. This is what I find really cool. If you're doing the torch mode, you got it. You can brighten it up as well, just like the other one. If you want to do a bit of filming like I do most of the time, you just click it over and boom, now you get yourself a floodlight. That's so awesome, and you can brighten it up just like the other one. Pretty straightforward. And you got a red light. Red light is used so you don't spook fish. And then the last one there, which is hard to see, but you have a black light as well. Black light illuminates all the corals at nighttime. But this is a really awesome light as well. I can't wait to try this one. I should have tried it a lot sooner, but I think this may be my go-to. Very, very versatile. Spotlight, floodlight, red light, blue light, or black light. So cool. So if you enjoyed this review, like I said already, give it a thumbs up. And if you give it a thumbs down, don't be a coward. Let me know why. Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Peace and love. And thanks, Wurkkos, for hooking up 2 dive torches. They're really, really great. The one's going to be a backup, and the other, who knows, it might be a primary. Stay tuned for that video review too.